Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Boxer impresario Benn says that he's made an offer to Mikaela Mayer to face Lauren Price for the undisputed welterweight championship. Though just making an offer does not guarantee that the fight will happen. Not to bog the conversation down with the business of boxing bullshit, but it matters a whole lot how much money they're offering up.
That's what will determine whether or not the fight will or won't happen. How much money are they willing to kick out to Mikaela Mayer, who's not going to fly back to the UK on the cheap after not one, but two bad experiences over there. The decision in the Baumgartner fight and the later decision in the Jonas fight.
As well as conceding home field advantage to Lauren Price, who comparatively is not the bigger name of the two. By now, Mikaela Mayer is the more recognizable fighter, having been in more big fights more often over a longer duration of time.
Well, she just conceded home field advantage to Mary Spencer in Canada in her last fight.
She did, but that was a calculated risk, and we all know it. She was willing to concede home field advantage to Mary because she was quite confident that she could beat Mary. Fighting Lauren is a different kettle of fish. It's a very different fight. Against Lauren Price, she will need every advantage she can get, having none of the deficiencies you saw in the Mary Spencer fight. Now, Mary Spencer, a naturally bigger woman and arguably a bigger puncher.
Arguably.
Mikaela went to town on her. I didn't give Mary Spencer a single round in that fight. I was confident that Mikaela would win it, and she did, that she would be dominant. But with Lauren, it's really a different fight.
Smaller target, more agility, more speed, better boxing brain,
better amateur pedigree. Both Mary Spencer and Lauren Price were amateur standouts, but Lauren won the gold in the Olympic Games. Mary Spencer didn't make it that far. Fighting Lauren is more difficult, and thus, Mikaela Mayer will not concede home field advantage so easily.
And she will not travel abroad so easily. Not for just any old offer. So when Ben Shalom says that he's made Mikaela an offer, yeah, maybe he did, but how much is it worth?
How much is it for? As that will dictate whether or not the fight happens. And don't forget that Mikaela Mayer currently holds 3 of the 4 major titles in the junior middleweight division. She still has the WBO at welter and 3 more titles at junior middle. She could always pull rank on Lauren Price and tell her, why don't you come up to my division where I have 3 alphabet titles, win a title of your own, and then come see me.
Tell her to go fight O'Shea Jones for O'Shea's IBF title at 154.
And if she wins, then she can fight Mikaela for undisputed, because you have to understand that even though it's Lauren's promoter that's kicking out the offer, in many ways, Mikaela is the bigger name, the more recognizable fighter, having fought in the bigger fights.
On the face of it, it just feels like Lauren needs this fight a bit more than Mikaela does, because Mikaela's name is already established, where Lauren is still trying to get there. And I think that Lauren only boxed once this entire calendar year. She's not yet boxed on the BBC platform, likely won't make her BBC debut until sometime next year. There's not enough time remaining in this year.
Marginally, it does feel like Lauren Price needs this fight more than Mikaela, because Mikaela is a bigger name. Currently, she's a champion at 2 weights simultaneously, holding a belt at 147 and 3 more at 154. Now, as far as the fight itself, and if it were to get made, how does Mikaela win? What does she have to do? It's funny, because even though Lauren is a very different fighter to the fighter that Mikaela just fought, the strategy might need to be the same.
What?
You saw that Mikaela Mayer basically outdogged Mary Spencer. That's what she has to do to Lauren. She has to outdog Lauren, who's a very different fighter to Mary, faster, more agile, more well-schooled, with a better boxing brain, but the way to beat her is to outdog her.
What?
You're not going to win a chess match against Lauren, sitting there fencing and fiddling, and
no.
You have to rough her up. You have to make her uncomfortable, and the way to do that is to force her to fight, draw her into exchanges, make her fight at a pace that she's not used to. It's difficult and it's dangerous, but I think That's the way to win.
Lauren's really good, but she ain't been in a dogfight yet. Michaela has.
That might be the way to win. Use Lauren's inexperience against her because Michaela's got a lot more of that than Lauren. We'll see if the fight materializes.
In men's super lightweight news, Terence Crawford's evaluation of what could be the upcoming Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez fight for Teofimo's WBO title, Terence simply put said, "I don't know it all, but what I do know is Shakur Stevenson is beating the fuck out of Teofimo on fight night."
Now, we all know that in many ways, Terence Crawford is partial to Shakur Stevenson. That's his longtime buddy. So if you don't want to take it from Terence, take it from Brian Garcia.
I don't know.
I think so.
I think that fight is gonna go through.
If that fight does happen, who you think, based on this style, will end up on top? Based on you knowing boxing.
Shakur. Just because Teofimo likes to fight people that like he could counter. And with Shakur, he has to chase him. So it's not a good style matchup for Teofimo. But shit, if Teofimo finds a way, fucking kudos to him for sure. Like, cause I don't see Teofimo being that aggressive. You know, he's aggressive.
Yeah, he's more like he throw his punches, not trying to hurt. He just trying to tag you.
Yeah, like he's not very aggressive. Like he's more of a natural counterpuncher, but not an aggressive fighter. That like he'll go get you if he has to.
It's what Ryan had to say about it in the spaces on Twitter. He favors Shakur Stevenson to win the fight for the same reasons I favor Shakur to win the fight.
Teofimo is a natural counterpuncher and not a particularly aggressive one. What he's good at is catching you and tagging you on the way in, though getting on the front foot and having to corner his man has proven difficult for Teofimo, which is what we saw in the Sandor Martin fight, the Jermaine Ortiz fight.
Shakur Stevenson is a cut above those fighters, and thus countering him will prove difficult because he won't give you the openings.
What I've been saying.
I believe that he is a little taller and a little longer than Teofimo Lopez too. The speed is about the same, but having that extra height and that extra length might make all the difference. In terms of power, you could probably give that to Teofimo. He's the harder puncher.
Yeah, maybe. But he hasn't proven to be all that big a puncher as a super lightweight. Still, he punches harder than Shakur Stevenson. Maybe he does. Though power in and of itself counts for nothing if you can't deliver it, if you can't land, which goes back to my previous statement that Teofimo's a counterpuncher, but countering Shakur will prove difficult since he won't give you the openings.
What Shakur is going to do is manage the distance on his toes, force you to come to him to walk you into counters, shifting his weight onto his back foot and getting on his toes, forcing you to come to him.
Teofimo's not all that busy and around either, just like Ryan Garcia said. He's more of a counterpuncher, a single punch guy, than a volume guy. Now, Shakur Stevenson just fought a volume guy and William Zepeda, who comparatively throws a lot more punches in a round than Teofimo Lopez, and he was able to deal with his work rate.
So that dealing with Teofimo's, who throws comparatively less, might be even more manageable because you don't have to worry about 3 and 4 and 5 punches. You really only have to stay out of the way of 1 or 2, creating more breaks in the action that favor Shakur Stevenson, more of those quiet moments
that favor Shakur Stevenson. So I, for the same reasons as Ryan Garcia just stated, favor Shakur to win.
Been talking about this fight being made for early next year for some weeks and some months now. It does look to be happening. It's not like Teofimo has a high abundance of options. He doesn't.
He don't fight Shakur Stevenson. How else is he going to make a big bag? He's another guy who only fought once this year.
Last in action in Turkey El Al Sheikh's Times Square show. And we all know that Turkey pays above market value, so Teofimo likely made enough from that one fight that he had this year to take the rest of it off. But a new year is approaching. You don't have that many options, and the bills just keep coming in.
He has to fight.
They're saying that this fight might happen in either January or February, early next year, sometime around there. And beyond that,
some insights into the not-so-distant future of Shakur Stevenson should he win the Lopez fight next year, where initially he said that he'd beat him, then move back down to lightweight. Now what Shakur is talking about is moving up.
A few weeks ago, he sat down with content creator The Divine Hook, and he told her that if he beats Teofimo, he would then drop the WBO, let his buddy Keyshawn Davis pick it up, at which point he would drop back down to lightweight, where he still holds the WBC title.
That's what he told her, but it would seem he's had a change of heart. He doesn't want to move back down now. Now, he's talking about moving up.
Moving up for Benn, who just got his big revenge win over Chris Eubank Jr., plans on returning to the welterweight division.
Benn.
Benn said, I messaged Shakur. I said, listen, if you're really about it, let's do it next. I don't just do the social media thing for Vince. I said, we can do that next in April, and he said, cool, let me get Tio out of the way. We'll do it in April, so you may be seeing me and Shakur next.
Does it happen?
The welterweight division would service as a middle ground for Benn and Shakur. Conor would be moving down, Shakur would be moving up. It wouldn't be for a title, since neither one of them holds a title in that division.
Only place Shakur Stevenson holds a title right now is in the lightweight division, and it being that he plans on moving up, we can make the inference he's gonna drop that title. He is not returning to lightweight.
His own words, Teofimo, then Conor in 2026, which will be my greatest year yet.
He's gonna drop the green and gold title. That's what we can deduce, that the Williams Zepeda fight has turned out to be his final fight in the lightweight division. Not really surprising. There are actually bigger names and bigger fights at 147 than 135.
There's really nothing left for Shakur Stevenson at 135 except a Gervonta Davis fight that we all know isn't going to happen, a Floyd Schofield fight where the Schofields already ducked you and wasted your time.
Who's really down there? Andy Cruz, who's still building his name. Raymond Muratalla, who's still building his name. Abdullah Mason, who, yeah, he became a champion in his last fight, but he's still building his name also.
Compared to 135, 147 offers bigger names, bigger fights, and bigger money for Shakur Stevenson, so that he's now saying he's going to move up instead of moving back down. I'm not surprised.
A Benn fight at 147, especially if it's in the UK or Saudi, offers more money to Shakur for no belt
than anything at 135, save the Gervonta Davis fight that we all know by now is not gonna happen.
It's time to move on.
So I'm not at all surprised to hear that instead of moving down, Shakur Stevenson now plans to move up. I don't think that he can fight above welterweight. I think that's where the buck stops for Shakur.
He's hit a ceiling.
We haven't even seen him at 140 pounds yet, but when you talk about 147, he can't fight any higher than that. He doesn't have the physical dimensions, the durability, or the power to fight as a junior middle. 147 is where he will top out.
That might turn out to be where he stays for the remainder of his boxing career.
That might turn out to be where he finishes it out.
147.
Lest some major money fight draws him to 154 for a one and done. But like I said, we haven't even seen him at 140. So talking about him at 147, I would say that is Shakur Stevenson's ceiling. That is about as high as he can go.
Slick Rick with the Ken go.
Oh, look at you. You're a rapper now.
But this is the kind of guy Devin is, and I said it on my own channel. I said sometimes guys like this don't get the credit they may deserve because they disarm you, they disassemble you. You know, they kind of disassemble the bomb instead of being the ones who drop the bombs. You know, and Devin is more of a guy who just strips you naked and be like, all right, bro, you got nothing left now. You know what I mean? Instead of disarming you or disassembling you completely, where even the layman can be impressed by that. While the guy who takes you apart little by little, sometimes he doesn't get enough credit because it's not as sexy. You know, it's not as flashy. It's not as the big bombs aren't impressing the layman. But nonetheless, this was against probably the most talked about of the welterweight champions. Listen, we've talked about this welterweight division is a bit weak, but nonetheless, Norman was the most talked about of the welterweight champions. So he did it against Norman. He didn't do it against Barrios, who I think, like I'll repeat, that I'm not really that impressed with. He didn't do it against Rolly, who can be hot and cold depending on when you catch him. He did it against Norman, who, yeah, he'd been hot and cold in the past, but was on a little bit of a tear here. And as a young guy, was impressing a lot and was the talk of the welterweight division, especially with Ennis gone. And to do it against that guy and to do it the way he did it and score a knockdown in the process, you know, you got to give credit where credit's due, especially because you got to be a little bit of a psychiatrist here. Or you know, you don't know where Devin's head was at after the Garcia situation and the JC Ramirez fight. That's why, Champ, I give you credit if you were that sure a month ago, because that's the only thing too with me. It's like if it's a Devin Haney who's hesitant, and I don't know because I'm not in his head. You know that every human being is different when they go through stuff like that.
That's Paulie Malignaggi giving Devin his just due, giving him credit. And that's saying a lot coming from Paulie, because Paulie and Devin don't have the best history.
They've had words.
Though, of course, there's giving Devin Haney his just due, giving him credit, and being a fan of Devin or being impressed with Devin, which isn't necessarily the same thing. He won. He won in dominant fashion.
But that doesn't mean people were impressed by it, given how he went about it. It is true. He disarmed the bomb.
Though not landing very many of his own, that's why people are complaining. That's why people are calling him boring.
What did Devin Haney do to win the fight? I thought this was the sport of boxing where you had to take it from the champion. Devin Haney's jab was going to be the key thing, and that's what he was going to use to expose Brian Norman Jr., right? That's what people said, that Devin Haney was the superior boxer and he had the better jab. Devin Haney, he doesn't like to take lead, and he doesn't know how to take lead. The entire time as I'm watching this fight, is Brian Norman Jr. actively jabbing forward, controlling the center of the ring. I just don't get how we can award somebody a win and they won't engage and they're not willing to engage. Even B. Hearn and Conor Benn are telling you the same thing. The dude doesn't want to engage. I'm trying to figure out, like, how are we gifting people wins like this? This is the same fucking problem I had when Shakur Stevenson fought and with De Los Santos. These dudes got to stop fighting in these people's backyards, bro. You don't even get the nod as a champion when a challenger doesn't even want to come take it from you.
Noticeably disgruntled caller on the Boxing Voice who is not at all impressed with Devin Haney's would-be dominant win over Brian because it's a win where he didn't engage.
Like Paulie Malignaggi said, Devin Haney's not the guy that throws the bomb. He's the guy that disarms it.
So he disarmed Brian Norman. How do I reconcile my feelings about Devin Haney's performance? Giving him credit, though not being impressed? Well, I rate him. He's on my pound-for-pound list. And because he's on there, I'm acknowledging that he's been a champion at 3 weights, that he's very accomplished for a man so young, but that doesn't make me a fan of him. That doesn't mean I want to see him box, or that I was at all entertained this past Saturday, that I was impressed. I like the caller.
I'm sick of this back foot boxing bullshit.
I'm sick of these overly defensive fighters that don't make for an entertaining round or an entertaining fight, because boxing for us is supposed to be entertainment. He can be very good at what he does.
Like you can be very good at preparing a certain kind of fish, a certain kind of dish.
And perhaps there are people out there who like that dish and appreciate it, but I am not one among them. So Devin can be good, he can be skilled.
You can be really good at making pickled pig feet.
You can make the best chitlins this side of the Atlantic Ocean. You can do that. Doesn't mean I want to eat it.
Devin can be good at disarming the bomb.
But that doesn't mean I want to watch it. I want to watch the blood and guts, the drama, the brutality.
I'm not here to be an expert. I'm here to be entertained. And there are fighters that are probably a lot less skilled than Devin that I would rather watch.
So that's what it all boils down to. You can acknowledge that he won and give him his credit, but that doesn't mean you have to be impressed by him.
Because I'm not.